Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Christian Braun.
You're listening to the Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, yourself?
We're good.
Doing good.
Hey, thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Well, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about you. What do you do?
I'm a realtor with Remax Real Estate Professionals over here in East Lansing, and then I have a team of agents. We have 3 agents and an office manager over here that works it out every single day, helping people buy and sell.
That's awesome. So when you were younger, is this what you had planned for your future?
It's actually a funny story. My mom likes to share this one, so I'll have to give her a shout out on this one. Actually, when I was a little boy, I wanted to be a garbage truck.
Garbage truck, not a driver, the truck.
Not a driver, the garbage truck itself.
Love it.
And I was actually tongue-tied, so I had a little bit of a lisp. So if you could only imagine how that would be pronounced, being a little 2-3-year-old boy, they would always constantly go run to see the garbage truck every day.
Yep.
Over in Colonial Village. It was quite interesting. But other than that, realistically, I started like a landscape company when I was about 8 years old. Snow blowing people's driveways before I'd hit the elementary school bus. So I went to the path of being a contractor for 20-something years. So
That's awesome.
You got the sales
I got
in your blood.
Long story before I got into real estate, realistically.
So where did you decide, hey, I'm going to do real estate? When did that happen?
Actually, we worked for, or I should say, my company used to work for quite a few realtors that are very, very successful names currently right now, still in our association and definitely around the area. And we would, with my company, we would go in and help them, fix up properties, because it's all about curb appeal. And, that you have 8 seconds to get to that property. And if the property doesn't have that curb appeal, it's no go. Mm-hmm. But it also dramatically affects the price on the property as well.
Yeah.
So what we used to do is we'd have these agents call and like, hey, Chris, we really need you to help us figure out how to get this property to sell. It's not selling. We go, okay, well, how much money do you have? Are you trying to get a return? And for about 20-something years, I was told to become an agent. I said no, never wanted to, had zero interest. I'm a guy that will sit there and get dirty down in a crawl space, work on tractors, equipment, whatever it needs to be. And then I sold my company about 10 years ago. And the day that a couple of people, realtors, that had found out that I'd sold the company, they started showing up at my door. And I said, nope, not doing it. Absolutely will not. I was a project manager working pipeline land restoration with legal tracks and stuff like that on the road for about 1.5 years. And it was about 5 years ago, getting into the winter, I was bidding MDOT jobs and for new work and stuff like that. And I had a couple family members and friends that said, hey, we need to buy a house. And I was like, well, I'll go get that license. It's a piece of cake, right? And so I was going to do it just as a hobby. And then once people found out that I had my license, my previous clients and stuff like that, I mean, within the first month, I was working, 60, 70 hours a week. And, I said I would never, ever, ever do it.
Yep.
And, I can't say enough about what the industry has done for me and helped me. But it was also some of the previous background knowledge that I had that really did help me out in it. So, understanding what it takes to sell a property, or, you got a structural defect, or, hey, we got a little bit of water that's coming in the basement. It's like, okay, let's take care of the gutters. Downspouts is probably going to solve the problem. So, I guess 5 years goes by and here we are on the Brad and Taylor Show talking with you guys.
Awesome.
I like it. Yeah, that's great. I get asked the same thing all the time too. When are you going to be an agent?
I mean, how
when
did
are you
you
going to be an
guys
agent?
get into it?
Well,
am I allowed to ask you questions?
Yeah, we can do whatever we want. But no, I actually used to fly to the Upper Peninsula all the time for work, just flying up there. And then I was like, how could a business survive? And then we ended up just starting doing. I was like, I like taking pictures of houses, so let's do it. Yeah. So we just went that route. But I get asked all the time, hey, why don't you be an agent? So I understand that one completely. So maybe I better watch out. It might end up being the same thing.
You got to fight it off for 20 years. Yep. And then after that, I guess
How many
it's
years
cake.
do you have left, Brad? How many years have you been putting off?
I got 14 more.
14? Okay. Well, hey, that's
time.
better than 20. So you're already 6 years ahead.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny. Well,
I know your background, like you kind of mentioned, gave you knowledge going into what you do currently. Did you get any advice from anybody maybe who was already in the business of real estate that kind of just stuck with you throughout the years?
You know what? I had one client that, well, we had multiple clients that we worked for personally as realtors and stuff like that. And, I'd asked one person, and it might have not have been the right person. He goes, just work hard, Chris, you'll get it. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty solid advice. But I had actually inside of our East Lansing office here over at Remax, everybody's very willing to help.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a lot of contract background and stuff like that. So there are purchase agreements and the contract stuff. It wasn't terribly difficult to understand. It's just all the fine print. But, I had, some mentors over here that anytime I needed to ask any questions, Bob Plesher, my broker, was absolutely amazing, very supportive of everything. I remember giving my first purchase agreement over to Adrienne Lau, which was a wonderful job with her team, Albert Manez and stuff like that. And I remember going into her office and I was like, hey, Adrienne, is there any way I might be able to buy you lunch just to quickly look over this purchase agreement? She looked over and she said, yep, looks good. And but it's getting into the industry, you really need some help with mentors and stuff like that to really be able to be successful, because there's a lot of things, if you don't cross your T's and dot your I's on these purchase agreements, could really affect the buyer or seller in either way and cost a lot of money. So, my biggest piece of advice is if you're not on a team and you're on your own, try to find a mentor. But I mean, realistically, never hesitate to ask. And because there's a lot of very phenomenal agents out there that really want to help other agents, because like I say, in any industry, there's obviously competition, and but a lot of the competition actually wants to make you better because it makes an easier transaction for all parties.
Yeah,
for sure.
So.
I know we kind of mentioned the market and how that's transitioning here before we started recording. Can we touch back on that? Talk about that while we are recording. Just market changes coming up. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Or what is happening?
we definitely have some foreclosures coming that we haven't seen in over 18 months, with the memorial being removed for the tax foreclosures and the mortgage foreclosures. We're starting to see them basically get to the sheriff's sale, which is the first step in a foreclosure, where they're actually have the opportunity to buy out for cash from third parties. So we're starting to see those come, but they're at a really high price as we predict, just because of the inventory shortage. We're still underneath, even though that we've doubled inventory since March, April, May in part of June of last year, or of this past year. But we're going to really start seeing them come in. And then there's the forbearance that's coming up in the end of October. With that being said, that one, if anybody's in forbearance, just double check. And even if you have clients that, I always ask every single appointment now, did you miss any payments? Well, that was a standard. Now it's, did you miss any payments, or did you take the forbearance? And double check with your bank. And, a lot of people don't realize it was up to the banks and to apply through the CDC to get that the forbearance put onto the back end of the loan. But if you did take it and you got to pay back, get it refinanced. And so that way you don't lose it, because I've talked to so many people that have, 100,000, or even, it doesn't matter if you have 20,000 or 10,000 or $5,000 equity, you don't want to be in that situation, or you may lose your house.
Right.
But we're going to see where a lot of them are really going to start coming through. And I presume that it's going to be somewhere in between, it's to really start in December, January, February of next year, and the prices will come down. And then it takes typically 6 months for a mortgage foreclosure, with a redemption period for the person to be able to buy the property back before you even go into the property. And tax deeds, as soon as that's done, it's done. But that takes 3 years, for a tax deed to go through on a share sale.
Okay.
But it's inevitable. People always ask me, well, the expensive homes, they will never go. Getting into mortgage foreclosure and stuff like that, it doesn't matter what the price of the property is, everybody's subject to it.
Yep.
And it's a scary thing, everything we went through, over the past couple of years, but It's just like with any market, it's got to go up and down a little bit. But the biggest factor is what the Feds are going to do with the interest rates. And we were expecting that the interest rates would start sneaking up right about now because the Feds are lending out at 0%, which, gets us into those, 2.8s and, depending on whether it's a 30 or a 15-year mortgage. But if they start increasing those, typically the buyers will start backing out of the market, then we'll really start gaining inventory. So hopefully that won't happen. I don't presume that the interest rates are going to really start climbing until middle of next year now, but you never know. But it's always still a good time to buy. You just have to be buying smart.
Right.
And there's still investments out there. You have to watch the MLS. You got to be on top of it. You've got to talk, and you find a deal because you worked really hard and diligently to find it. So
I know. And speaking of those investment properties and the foreclosures, what is the worst property that you've been to over the years? I'm sure you've seen some. What one sticks out to you? What situation?
One was in a spot that I got definitely a few of them. One was in a spot that I knew was, and I didn't know if I was going to fall through the floor, and then I went down to the basement, and I got halfway down and decided I'm not going down there, just knowing structural integrity of buildings. Yeah. But probably the one that sticks out to me the most, because I always look at if we're supposed to add this always disclosures up online before we, during the listing process and stuff like that. And this one, we knew it was a foreclosure about ready to, I think it's actually a short sale. And I look at the disclosures and it says, no plumbing issues, no water in the basement. Exterior of the house, a little rough. I get it. No big deal. Go upstairs, broken windows. I mean, it's not a huge deal. No plumbing issues. Let me put it this way. Walk down to the basement, turn to the right, then there's a full bath there. And there literally was like a sewage explosion.
Oh, no.
And I had been there for a minute. It was horrible.
I'm assuming that came with a smell.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how they could have known that they didn't have issues with plumbing. Let me put it that. I mean, it was on the ceiling and everything. And
no.
I just about gagged, and I got a pretty strong stomach. And then just being curious, I got to look around, and then there was boxes of animal feces. And I was like, I went home and immediately took a shower after that one. So that was... I won't disclose location or anything like that, but was not expecting it.
Wow.
What do you call those ones, Brad? The scratch and sniff homes?
The scratch and sniff homes.
Well, yeah, that's what I always tell people. Is just like, pictures can look great. I mean, you guys always do an amazing job, but you guys also portray what the home actually looks like, which is an amazing thing with your guys' company. But yeah, I always tell people, you need to see it and you need to smell it. So, because pictures... Yeah, scratch and sniff.
Exactly.
There were no photos of the basement, obviously, for like reasons.
Of course, yeah.
Yep.
If you could start over today with all the knowledge that you've gained over the years, what's one thing that you would do differently? Would you start real estate earlier? I know that over the years you kind of had it in the back of your mind. Would you go for it, or would you keep it?
Yeah, I had it in the back of the mind never to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, if I did, I always tell people this, and it's probably the honest truth. Actually, if I would have back and did anything, it probably would have been a school teacher for high school. And I've said it a million times. And, in high school, and it's realistically trying to train people to be financially smart. In my class, I always said is life in the real world and teaching, because nobody knows what a checkbook is anymore. I bring a checkbook and people are like, what are you doing with that?
What's that?
Yeah.
But it's just, realistically, it's as far as investments and stuff like that, which, real estate is the biggest investment, the biggest purchase you'll ever make. But if I were to have any advice to anybody, that would be getting into real estate, it's number one, hands down, have 6 months in reserve and save every penny, because you have good times and you have bad times. And you have to plan ahead, because what we see is a lot of the agents, they'll make the first couple sales. They're like, oh my God, I got all this money. And it's like, okay, you got to save for taxes.
Yeah.
And then what I always tell with agents, it's all about having a level. And so you have your highs and lows. And the biggest thing, and I teach this all the time, is when you're working, you got, 5, 6 deals or 10 deals or 15 deals going on, and you're working literally to the ends of your wit. Just truck forward, because As soon as you get all through all those, you have a month that's dead. And then you start freaking out, and then you're busy again. It's all about level time management, and but it's also taking time for yourself as well, which I struggle with.
I know we talked about that before we started recording too. If taking time for yourself, if you're busy, or if you're not busy, I'm sorry, misspoke there. If you're not busy, then book a vacation, right? And then book
a vacation. Your phone is guaranteed to go off. That or even just say, hey, I'm going to take this day off.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a call and you're like, ugh. But at the end of the day, it's realistically, it's feast or famine. And, I don't see the market doing what we saw realistically starting to 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. But, the market over the next year and a half I think it's going to change, which is really good for buyers, and also a little bit for sellers, even though they're not going to like it. But I don't think that the pricing is really going to have a huge effect on it. So,
yeah. Do you have any business books that you could recommend to anybody starting out? Or what's your favorite book in general, if you don't have a business one?
I don't read. I'm going to be that honest. I'm one of those guys where I'm a History Channel or watching documentaries for like investments and stuff like that. It's just, I wake up and I'm out of bed in my truck within 5 minutes. And that's just the way I have been my entire life. I just programmed myself that way. The 12-hour day is absolutely nothing. But what I do instead of reading is I am constantly talking to other entrepreneurs, other business owners, also employees of different companies and stuff like that, and just trying to learn all the different facets of business and understanding other businesses, because realistically, real estate, it is a business. And you have to manage the money and stuff like that. So
awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today. Before we go, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can reach me in numerous ways. Cell phone number 517-643-2600. Also, you can email me at any given point. It's C, like Chris, Braun, like my last name, like the coffee maker, BRAUN, at home, HOME, the number 4, salenow.com. I know it's a tongue twister there. But when I was setting everything up, I had to have a creative email address.
Yep.
But you can also go to the christianbraungroup.com, and that'll take you into being able to view any property that's active in the MLS, whether it's the west side of the state, which we do work over there. That's Kristen Fricky. So if you're looking at properties over in Grand Haven, Muskegon, North Muskegon, Holland, she's can be reached at 517-231-750-4884. So we don't just service just the Lansing area, west side, and then we also go down into the Jackson area and have an agent down in that area too. So
awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your story today.
Yeah, not a problem. You guys have a wonderful day. Okay.
Are these working?
All right.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah, I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review if they're listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars, review. Guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take 4 stars.
I mean, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
I don't think this is working.
This is not working.
Yeah.